do that. And
Okay, so
then-
hit share screen and what comes up?
Arrest.
Oh, you're gonna have to, oh,
Paige, you should be able to share your screen now.
Hi, guys. Can everybody hear me? Raise your hands.
Oh.
Hey, y'all.
Do you want to wear?
Now-
Pull it out. Pull it out.
I want y'all to know that you're my first class on Zoom and PowerPoint, so kind of hang with me, all right? I'm learning which button to mash. I want to do a couple of things first. How close are we to start time? We're there, aren't we? Everybody unmute yourself, please. All right. Can we have a show of hands of everybody who has been in the business more than 3 years? More than 3 years. Okay. How about more than 1 year? All right. And how about more than 6 months? All right. So I like to know who I'm talking to. And today we're going to talk about marketing your listing to get it sold. And of course, sold is going to be in big bold letters. And that's the purpose of us taking the listing, is to get it sold. And y'all are going to have to hang on 1 second. I'm not doing it right. I either got to have some help or take it down. I guess the first thing that you need to do is to make sure that your presentation is ready.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. I'm Candy.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Gail.
No, I need to see my phone.
Oh, this is pretty.
You gotta keep it like this for yourself. You can't make that smaller.
I want to be on the screen.
You can't be on this screen. It just doesn't work like that.
Okay, then take it down. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulty. Okay, thanks. All right. So here we are. We're going to talk some. We may or may not see screens, and that's okay. I'm good with that if y'all are. The first thing that I want to talk to you about is getting the listing and preparing the seller for the marketing of their listing. Now, what might that mean to me if I'm the seller? Okay, that means that you're going to talk to me and tell me what to expect during the listing period. The more you can educate your seller, the better your marketing of their home is going to be. And if you do that from the very beginning, if you do a pre-listing, then do it then. If you do a listing appointment face-to-face, do it then. If you do it Zoom, do it then, and put it in writing. And what I mean by put it in writing is that with the changes that are going on in how we market property, number one, I've had to redo this class because we're not going to talk about a 90-day marketing plan, because homes should not stay on the market for 90 days. But do we still have to properly market our properties? Absolutely. Because we want to make sure that we are doing what we are bound to do, and that's to properly represent the seller throughout the entire transaction. Now, some things have changed, and I'm not going to get into contracts today, but some things have changed contractually that tells the seller right up front, Mr. Seller, please don't market your own property. Please leave that to the professional. What's the saying? Don't try this at home. This is only for professionals. Okay, well, that's what our marketing is all about. Don't try this at home. Don't do this yourself. That's why you've hired me. Now it's in writing in the contract, and it says that the seller is not to show the property on his own, even if it's listed with us. He agrees not to market the property on social media. Oh my gosh, is that important? That the seller knows not to market their own property on social media? How screwed up can that get us? Okay. Now, do we want to prepare marketing information for the seller that we give the seller to put on their social media? Absolutely. Think about all the people that can be reached on social media if you ask your seller to forward or to post your marketing information to that seller, to their sphere of influence. And then if their sphere of influence sends it to their sphere of influence, who sends it to their sphere of influence, then you are able to have the property marketed with your information, with the proper photographs, not a 10-year-old picture that's stamped. I saw that yesterday when I was doing a comparative market analysis, and I was looking at an active listing, and it had photographs that had the date stamped on it, and they were 8 years old. What does that mean to me? That means that this is what the property looked like 8 years ago, and I'm using this photograph, so you ought to see what it looks like now, right? Am I right? It just immediately gives the wrong impression to the public. So that's the number one thing that you have to take into consideration, is to establish the boundaries with your seller about who the professional is. Don't try this yourself. I am a professional. Okay. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the quality of your marketing. Now, does that mean that you go out to a professional marketing company out of state that puts together an entire marketing plan for you on, cardstock paper, and you bring it together, and you have to have all of this before you take your first listing? You have to have your brand and your own logo and your own ID. No, it doesn't mean that. It means that you have to be consistent with what you're putting out there. Don't start with one listing and use Wendy as your name, and the next time you in Wendy it's Wendy, all lowercase, and then the next time you market the next property, it's Wendy Madison. Okay, and it's Wendy with a small W and Madison with a large M. Okay, that's inconsistent. That's inconsistent. When you are starting to market your first property, and I think the group that I'm talking to is overwhelmingly will be marketing their first few properties. And I'm getting a message that my internet is unstable. I've been told that before, okay? But we're going to go on. So what I want you to know is that whatever marketing, I'm going to hit the share screen for a second. And we're going to, I'm going to, sometimes this share screen works. Y'all raise your hand. Wendy, raise your hand if you can see this just listed postcard or just listed flyer. Okay, thanks. And see, I'm picking on Wendy because I know Wendy. So I'm down there and I'm going to use her on everything. Okay, so if you look at this, you can see the consistency that I have established. This is a template. I could change this out in 5 minutes to go for any property, but I am going to make sure that I have good quality photographs that show so it's going to be at the bottom. Now, your logo may not be like what my logo is today because I have been able to develop this logo through time. But you want to make sure this is what I'm talking about, that I want you to be consistent with everything that you're doing. And remember that the presentation is so very important. You put your best face forward. What does that mean? What did your mom tell you? Did your mom tell you to put your best foot forward? Okay, I don't want anybody putting their foot on their flyers or their postcards. I want you to put your best face forward. Now, if you choose not to market yourself with your face, then go with something that is going to be able to be consistent. Y'all are going to hear me say that a million times. Market your listing to get it sold through consistent marketing. If you have the plan, all you have to do is put it in place. You never want to go live with your listing, in my opinion, until the property is 100% ready to go. Both the property and your listing material. You want to make sure that you have all of your disclosures on hand before time to list the property and push the live button. And the reason for that is what's in the back of your mind with every single thing that you do from the time you get the listing is working towards the closing table. So we have to work towards the showings and towards the offers coming in and towards the negotiation of those offers. So if we do not have proper disclosures before we go live, you are not presenting to other agents that you are the professional, that you have prepared the listing to be sold. If you don't have a lead-based paint a lead-based paint disclosure statement, you are not prepared to receive an offer. Everybody get that? Please, please, please. Did everybody get that? Any questions at all about that? If you have a listing that is active and you do not, and the house was built before 1978, and you do not have a seller's statement on the lead-based paint disclosure available to the buyer's agent, can you accept an offer? That's a question. Anybody want to help me answer that question? Molly, I see you. Unmute yourself and tell me.
You don't want to do that because later on, if they find out there is some issue, then we can be in a lot of mess, right? The disclosure should clearly indicate that that is not lead-based paint.
Say it again.
The disclosure should clearly indicate that there is no lead-based paint. If you don't have a disclosure and later on you find out after the contract, that can be an issue.
That's correct. Now, if the house is built, let me state it a little different. Am I echoing? Okay, good.
Before 1978, right? Before
Right.
1978.
If it's built prior to 1978, you must have a lead-based paint signed at the time that you go binding and under contract. Everybody clear on that? Okay, so make sure that you are the professional in the transaction and you have had that done at the same time that you have the listing agreement signed, along with any other disclosures that are necessary, and that all of that information is uploaded into FMLS. And believe it or not, you can't believe how many people will not have that information available. So we've properly priced the property. We've taken the proper pictures so that we are ready to go live. We have professional photographs and we're ready for our presentation. It's kind of like a debut. So we're ready for our Deb to walk out and be presented to the world. And that's our listing. Now, this is the first place that we're probably going to list the property. And please understand that I am, I'm trying to help y'all with things that have caused issues in the past. For me, this is an experience, a pure experience class that I'm sharing with you, my KW University, to learn how to teach this class. I am telling you real life experiences and things that we have done and things that we've not done, so that you won't have to go through those stumbling blocks. And that's a big part of this class that we're taking now. You can see the FMLS printout on your screen now. And I want to talk to you about the fact that every single field needs to be properly filled out. And the reason for that is it's amazing how many agents will put in very, very specific criteria to pull their listings that they're going to review to show. So you must have all of your features in your multiple listing in both First Multiple Listing Service and Georgia Multiple Listing Service. Okay, because those are the criteria that people feed in and they pull from to select whether or not your listing is going to be shown. If Arthurine were here right now, she would be put her. She's been looking for a house with an elevator. Imagine having a listing with an elevator and the listing aid has an elevator. Arthurine would never show that property, never show that property to that client because somebody forgot to check a box. Those kind of things just cannot happen if you are going to become a professional listing agent and you are going to market your properties to get them sold. I see a lot of things, and I'm going to go by, I'm going to kind of go down this, and I'm going to help you with some things that I've found from other agents that things that they do that are unacceptable. Keller Williams, Atlanta North agents. We just are such a step above the average agent that we have to make sure that we have done every single thing that we can do and have gone overboard. There are a couple of new things on the multiple listing that have come on in the last, say, 6 months. One of them is the square footage and the source. That entire section says that you can select where you got it from public records, from the owner, from an appraiser, several above ground finished area as one number, and a below ground finished area and a below ground unfinished area. And if you have a good source for that square footage, then use that source. Now, the very best source that I have found for utilizing square footage is a previous appraisal of the property. Now, I learned that after going through several ways to get square footage. In Cobb County, the tax records are not always accurate. Wait a minute, always or never? What word should I use? Closer to never are they accurate. So if you can ask your seller, do you have a copy of the appraisal from when you bought the property? It will probably have a good source for you to get the square footage. And make sure that there hasn't been an addition added since that time, or a finished area that was unfinished at the time the appraisal has been done. Any questions so far? Y'all don't let me get ahead of you. This is I would love for this to be an interactive class. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Nita, do you have any questions? All right.
Paige, this is Regina.
Yes.
Hey, if they do not have an appraisal and you know that previous owners have done some work, like maybe screened in a deck, but they had no permit, do you estimate square footage? Do you not say anything about it? Well, how would you handle it? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Number one is I would never estimate it, because we know what an estimate is. That's a wag. That's a wild ass guess. So don't wag it. But if you know that the tax records are incorrect and that something that true square footage has been added to the house. And what is true square footage? It is heated space. So make sure that you know what real square footage is. It's heated space. And you might want to do something as simple as take a tape measure. And if what was a screen porch has been enclosed and it now is heated and cooled like the rest of the house, and it has windows and it has a floor and a roof that is consistent with the rest of the house, then put a tape measure on it. If it's 12 by 12, it's 144 square feet that you can add to what was originally on the tax records. But do not guess. Try to get a source other than yourself to put in there, to include the owner, the current owner. What does he think the square footage is? He bought the house and it was 2,000 square feet that was listed on his appraisal. And he enclosed the screen porch and he added 144 square feet with a 12 by 12 addition to the house. So put in that the new square footage, you don't list it as new, but you would put the square footage in there of 2144 and the source is the current owner of the property. Any other questions about that? Okay, great. Another thing that has been added recently is the foundation. What type of foundation does it have? And things are kind of up in the air. I'm hoping that will come off because I do not feel as though a real estate agent has the capability or the knowledge necessary to find out what kind of foundation it is. There are so many different kinds of foundations, and this is a click the box, and they're so very close. If you're not familiar with construction, it might be something that you would leave blank. It's the only time you're going to hear me say that, because don't put something in there because you need to fill in the blank if you don't know that it's accurate information. Okay, so now we're back to marketing the property. And this is all about marketing the property. Why? Because we want to make sure that the criteria is in here that the agents are going to pull from.
Question. Hey,
Okay,
what if I'm not familiar with like what kind of hard floor, hardwood floor it is, and the owner never lived in the house. It's a rental property, and they don't even they never saw the house. They were out of state. What do I do with this kind of situation? Who do I ask?
and the question is what type of hardwood it is.
Like what kind of a hardwood floor it is, or what kind of the I don't know, like when we put the description of the house, like there are questions about certain material. If I'm not familiar with that, is there any place that I can search for that?
Well, I mean, for hardwood floors, that is not a drop-down box. Are you talking about in your description that you write about the property?
Yes.
Okay, well, if you're not sure, number one, something like hardwood floors, you need to ask an agent that might be more experienced than you are to help you with something like that, because it's usually something like hardwood floors. It's pretty easy to tap your fingernails. I use my fingernails for a couple of things: what kind of floor it is, whether or not it's synthetic stucco, and whether or not it's hardy plank. So you need to learn those things, and you need to be able to spot what kind of hardwood floor it is. Is it pre-finished? Is it site finished? Is it luxury vinyl plank, which we're seeing so much of now in the under $400,000 market? So those are things that you need to know to be a real estate professional. If you don't know those things, then ask the question. Simply ask the question. Do not guess. That goes back to what we talked about before. Do not guess and put incorrect information.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
And I've turned that phone off a couple of times. So the next thing is directions. Do you know how to get to the property? Then take the time to put the proper directions in. I am appalled at the number of listings that I see that it says use GPS. Are you kidding me? Come on, guys. Write the directions. You're selling the property. How do you want people to find the property? what direction do you want to start from? Do you want them to start from to find the property? What do you want them to drive by on their way to see the property? We do most of our work in East Cobb, and our listings start at north from the river on Johnson's Ferry. Simple enough, right? North from the river on Johnson's Ferry. What am I saying? We're close to the river. It's a point that most people know and understand. You're coming up the river. If it's close in, I'm going to say from Sandy Springs, cross the river into Cobb County. Okay. We're immediately selling. Every single thing that we put on this is to get the property sold. The next thing is the public remarks. We've had an increase in the number of characters that we can use. Use every single character you can. Come on, get descriptive. Talk about the house. Talk about the house. That's what you're selling. Talk about the area. Is it an ugly house? Then go ahead and say that. Don't put something in that's not true. About 25 years ago, I wrote a description for a house in Indian Hills, and it said, if you liked the 70s, you're going to love this house. So bring your lava lamp and move right in. Well, that kind of buzz went through the East Cobb real estate market. And people were saying, did you see what Paige Morgan wrote? But do you know what the traffic was on that house? I mean, people wanted to see it. But the other thing is they were not expecting a fully renovated house. So we had traffic that was actually wanting to buy a house that was from the 70s. I did not misrepresent it, and I didn't have false traffic for my seller. And I didn't have to say this is a handyman special or this is a fixer-upper. I said it all in a descriptive manner. Tell the truth, tell the truth, tell the truth. I like to use lowercase and uppercase words so that I can draw attention to specific words that I'm using in the description. I read listings for luxury properties in other areas to get new terms and words. Jackson Hole, Wyoming is a fabulous market. Sun Valley is a great market to read their descriptions and their write-ups. Palm Springs, California is a wonderful area. Go on to the online services that are available to the consumer and read what people are writing about $6 million homes, and then take those words and use the words if they belong with your home. It's just a descriptive term. Is it a splashy bath? What does that mean? Does that mean that it has a bathtub? I would think so. That's a word that I started using also about 20 years ago. It's a splashy bath. That's something that attacks the senses of the person that's reading that. They can almost feel it. It's water touching them. So think about that in everything. Make sure that the information that is in private remarks is truly information that's private. Don't put anything in there that you should be telling to the public. We're gonna kind of stop right there at that. The rest of it, I want you to go over on your own and look at each and every field and each and every drop-down box and make sure that you are adequately presenting the property. The next thing we're gonna look at is something that is probably equally as important. And can everybody see the, I want y'all to raise your hands and wave at me. Can everybody see the photographs that are now up on the screen? Raise your hand. All right, thanks. See, I am making it with this new technology. Maybe not as perfect as it should be, but I love the fact that y'all are bearing with me. I haven't lost many people. Okay, so here we are. This is a property that we had listed on Andrea Point, and it's absolutely fabulous home. If you will see, can you see where I'm circling around the write-ups? Okay, cool, it's working. Beautiful traditional. Gourmet kitchen is a chef and an entertainer's dream. Master bedroom with large soaking tub and separate shower. Large, open, 2-story family room with floor to ceiling windows and gorgeous. Okay, so we have tons and tons of photographs that we can use. We only used to be able to use 12, then we got to 25, and now I think we can put maybe 1 zillion on. But each and every photograph must be labeled. Don't be a slacker, guys. Come on. You're Keller Williams, Atlanta North. Act like it. Make sure that you have every single photograph is labeled. Look at this bathroom without the label. It just looks like a bathroom in a $350,000 house. And this is a $1.2 million home. But if you see, we have put in there that it's the full bath in the basement. So what does that do? Number one, it visually shows that there is a full bath and it is in the basement and there is a basement and it's beautiful for a full bath in the basement. If it came without the label, you'd go, gosh, that doesn't really look like a secondary bedroom bath of a $1.2 million home. So tell the people what it is. Make sure that your photographs are not of bedrooms that are vacant. Everybody knows what 4 walls look like. Everybody knows. Take pictures of the things that are going to draw people in. While we're on photographs, and I'm checking my time. Okay, while we're on photographs, I want you to know that oops, hang on. Well, what I want you to know is when you're taking photographs, you must position your photographs as part of your marketing. Do you get that? You must position your photographs as part of your marketing. When you do that, it allows folks to see people to see exactly what you want them to see first. So in today's real estate world, there is an amenity that has become so very popular during our time of pandemic, which was not always the most popular thing to have on a property, and who knows what it is. Okay, it's a swimming pool. In the past, a swimming pool could be a detriment to a listing. Today, everybody wants a swimming pool. You can't even get a contractor to give you a bid to build a swimming pool that's not maybe a year or 2 out, because people have changed. Our times are changing each and every day. So what else has to change? The marketing of our properties has to change along with it. And as it changes, we change the way we market, the words that we market, but we don't change the system of how we market. If we have a system established, we keep that system established. There are a couple of things that are taught in Keller Williams: leads, listings, and leverage. That's something that you just don't change. And in leverage, what do you use? People, systems, and tools. People, systems, and tools. So make sure you have your systems in place. And what I'm talking about is your marketing material. We talked about it must be consistent. You've already got to have that template ready for you to drop your photographs in. You've already got to know that you know exactly how to make sure that you're marketing to the real estate agent quickly. And that is by putting the criterias in that people pull from and making sure that it's correct. Anybody, if I lost anybody, and if I have, raise your hand. Okay, yeah, y'all smart group. Because this is really simple stuff, so you may not be that smart, but it's real simple because I did it. And I do it every day. And this is what's the basics of it. Still goes back to what's put into the listing service. And the reason for that is because what is put into the listing service now goes on to the consumer websites. And I refuse to honor anybody by calling their name. So I won't, but there are large consumer websites out there. You know what they are. Make sure that the information that goes through the IDX feed, and if you don't know what an IDX feed is, that's your homework. Find out what that is and why it's important for you to know what it is. But make sure that it goes to the public websites, because not only in today's world, this is when you grab the pencil and write this down, you are not only marketing to other real estate agents through the multiple listing services, even though they're supposed to be the only people that can see what's in the listing services, it is what feeds the consumer websites. So we are marketing each and every one of our listings directly to the public, directly to the public. Now, go back to the swimming pool. Okay, everybody ready? Jump in, splashy bath? No, okay. Go back to the swimming pool. If the swimming pool is going to be the thing that's the wow factor of the house that I'm listing, put it as the second photograph. Put it as the second photograph. Why not? Is that what you want the people to know? Absolutely. They don't have the fields to search like we do. So this is now to the public. I call it the Paige Morgan 5-swipe theory. You must grab the attention of the consumer in 5 swipes. And when they're swiping through those photographs, if they don't see the swimming pool, you've lost your opportunity to show your wow factor. Okay, write that down. Make sure you show your wow factor. You like that? What's your wow factor? Know what the wow factor is of each and every property that you put on the market and show it off. If it's the school district, what's the second photograph? A picture of the marquee of the school that you're marketing. Okay. What about if it's close to State Road 400? Would a photograph of the 400 sign be important? Would it be something that's different than any other listing in that area? You darn right. And it's going to stick out in someone's head, because at the bottom of that sign that says State Road 400, you are going to put a description, and the description is not going to stay close to State Road 400. It's going to be 1.3 miles to the entrance of North Lake. You can be to Northside Hospital in 16 minutes. Okay? That's the information that you want to put. When you're labeling your photographs, make sure you don't put things like bathroom when there's a picture of a toilet. Okay? And don't put kitchen if there's a picture of a stove. Let's get more creative than that, because we are Keller Williams Atlanta North, and we're just that good. It's just that important that you remember that these things can change the way your property is sold. Oh, I'm sorry, the way it's sold? I thought we were just talking about getting it sold. No, we're talking about the way that it's sold. So we want to make sure, hang on, let me check my time. We want to make sure that everything that we do, we are also keeping in mind that we want to, sorry guys, lost my train of thought. Somebody walked in my door. What was the last thing I was saying? Come on, help me.
We
You
want
want to
to.
represent Keller Williams. Is that what you said? Do you want?
That's it. We are Keller Williams, Atlanta North. We're a step above. We're not only getting our property sold, but how we're getting it sold. Okay, so if we do these things and we price the property correctly, we present the property to the public correctly, and we present all information to the consumer and the agents in the best form possible, then we will get multiple showings immediately. And that's what your seller in today's market is asking you to do. Get multiple offers for the property immediately. So I have talked to other agents that have said, Painter, are you still doing professional photographs and paying all that money and wait until they're all taken to get it on the market, when you know all you have to do is stick a sign in the yard and place it in multiple listing and pray it sells? Those are the other 3 Ps. Those are the old time 3 Ps. Or maybe those are the 3 Ps of agents who are not Keller Williams Atlanta North agents. But we are, and it's important that we make sure that we get multiple offers in a reasonable amount of time so that our seller can get the most amount of money in the least amount of time. That's always your goal. Say it all together. 1, 2, 3. The most amount of money in the least amount of time. Okay, that's the amount rule. Okay, I don't think it's written down anywhere, but that's what I call it. So I have gone over a lot of things with y'all that are just little teeny tiny things that will make your listing stand out to not only the public, but make it stand out to other agents also. Now, we could go, hang on just a second, I'm gonna do this share screen. Here we go. And we're, uh-oh, I'm doing it. We talked about the just listed postcards. What about if you don't even have time to send these out? You have it under contract before you even get these in the mail. What do you do? Oh my goodness. Then you start the marketing of yourself. because you are now looking for the next listing. Have you noticed that our session this time is not spent a lot with social media? And the reason for that is this is a 1-hour class, so it's a real overview. And I think that knowing the multiple listing service is probably the most important thing in today's world of getting the home sold and using the amount rule. And the amount rule is getting the most amount of money for your seller in the least amount of time. Okay, y'all got that now? Make sure that you are selling the home with your marketing for terms as well as price. That's something that you always want to keep in mind. But you are in a world where multiple offers are common, and look for all of the different things that can make a multiple offer, each offer in a multiple offer situation different. And that's finance, appraisal terms, negotiating the due diligence period. Oops. Next class. Uh-oh, I went one too far. So we've got a few minutes left and I see some hands raised. Is there anyone who has a question? Unmute yourself and ask the question. We've got about 5 minutes left and I wanted to keep this for you to ask questions. You mean I covered everything? Y'all are ready to go out and get 10 listings today? Come on.
Hey, Paige.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm in with Megan in our audios. Sorry about that. Just wanted to ask you, going all the way back to the beginning of your presentation, the documents to make sure that we have on hand the lead-based paint, the owner's disclosure. Do you want to have the proper, like, what are the other must-haves?
Okay. And let me, you must have the lead-based paint if the house is built prior to 1978. If you were with the Page Morgan team, you must have the lead-based paint disclosure. I don't care when the house was built. You don't know that a cabinet wasn't brought in from a grandmother's house that is 100 years old and used as a vanity and built in and became a part of that property. You don't know that the mantle was not made of barnwood. How many places have barnwood on walls now? How old is that barnwood? And is it laced with lead-based paint? So why not just get the lead-based paint disclosure done and signed by your seller and offered to the buyer? It's a little bitty piece of paper that can save you a whole lot of headache. So
Hey.
you want the seller's property disclosure statement either filled out completely or use the new form that we have this year, which is latent defects. And I think it's F302. I'm not sure about the number, but you want to use that. That will stay. If the seller says, I can't fill this out, I've never lived in the house, I don't know anything about the house, then fill out that you do not know of any latent defects, or you are aware of latent defects. Then also it helps you, if you don't have the seller's disclosure statement, if you have the latent defects, it checks the fixtures that stay with the house. Does the stove stay? Did the light fixture stay? All of that. So have some sort of seller's disclosure statement, one of the two. The other thing that is so very, very important that you must have when you get your listing signed, you're going to ask your seller, is there a homeowners association attached to this property? If there is, you want to make sure that you have a community association disclosure. And I could go on for 30 more minutes about how to fill that out properly, but we don't have time. Just make sure. And if you have a question, ask someone, and don't know is a good answer. I'll get right back to you.
Paige,
Did
do
that
you
question-
make the seller disclosure? Do you attach that to an offer when you respond? Like if they're taking the refrigerator and that's disclosed in the seller disclosure, do you make the seller disclosure part of your contract? Like an exhibit or?
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we always make a seller's disclosure statement available to the buyer's agent. And we do that through First Multiple Listing Service. And if for some reason they do not send that and we are
Yes.
going to counter the offer, then we would do that. If we're not going to
Perfect.
counter the offer, the only reason we would counter it to add an exhibit would be to add the lead-based paint. That is a federal law, guys. If y'all hear me saying how important that is, you cannot have a binding agreement date without a lead-based paint attached to it if it's built prior to 1978. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Paige, what are your thoughts on coming soon and how much information do you put in FMLS?
It's a touchy subject right now. With the change that we have recently had in our listing agreement, which is a legal binding document, and the relationship that we have with an outside contractor, which is First Multiple Listing Service, those are two different folks. So we want to make sure that we follow whatever our broker tells us to do. We are going to enter every single listing that we get. Houses are just going too quickly to try and figure out who you're able to show it to during the coming soon service. Okay, so what are you doing? You're going to have to pay the multiple listing service. That is part of the cost of doing business, boys and girls. That's in your budget, right? Spend it. Just like the professional photographer is in your budget, you need to spend it. The reason is, as a community of realtors, we need to be able to show comparable sales to other sellers. We need to make sure that comparable sales are entered in our areas of expertise so that we can properly price the property of the next listing. So make sure that you're not putting it in multiple listing to save that fee, because you're not saving anything. Be a player, put it in there, pay the fee, deduct it on your taxes, get down the road. Okay, so what do I put? I only put a front shot. I do not, because I do not want the property shown. I'm not trying to attract anyone. I'm not trying to attract anyone into the house yet. I'm simply letting them know that this property will be on the market and actively marketed at such and such date. So in the description, I am putting all of that kind of information without putting information about the house. Coming soon, big, big, big. I wish I could put flashy signs in there, but I'll figure that out later. Big, bold,
Thank
and
you.
bouncy. Okay, I'm trying to look over here at some questions that we have. What is your thought on putting the front elevation as the front photo? I personally get very irritated when it's buried. Okay. It is our group policy that we always have a front photo, unless it's dirt, unless it's land that we're selling. Because when we look at it and it shows the big, beautiful kitchen, what does that say to you? This is one ugly house from the street, but it's got a great kitchen. So don't do that. And it goes back to telling the truth, boys and girls. I mean, but we used to do that where we would hide the fact that it was a contemporary. Well, if the person doesn't want a contemporary house, why do you want them coming looking at your house if there are other houses on the market? So it's my opinion that the front photo should be the first photo. And that's a private message, and that's a private message. Woo, baby. Oh, so tell me this, any other questions that are not written down here? We've got 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. It's a good session.
You're very welcome. I hope it was helpful. My email address is Paige, P-A-G-E, no I, at PaigeMorgan.com. And I know that all of y'all know that I don't get paid for doing this, so I'm asking you to pay me now. And I would like for you to send me an email and tell me what was, and I really, I don't want you to say, thank you, it was great. I need some constructive criticism, and I take it very well. So if there's something that was really useful to you in this session, please tell me what it is so that I can expand on that specific part for the next class that comes along. If there was something that was totally useless to you, tell me that so I can cut it out. If the content was not what you expected it to be, let me know. But I'm asking you to do that. That's my paycheck for today for this 1 hour. Send me an email and say, this is what I liked and this is what I didn't. Thanks, I'm Paige Morgan. We're the Paige Morgan Real Estate Group. We're located upstairs on the 3rd floor by the training room in the far corner, as far away from everybody as we can get, but please come and visit us. I'd love to meet each and every one of you. Allison.
I have a quick question, Paige, and this may be for your next class, but what are your thoughts on the email e-blast to all of the other agents in the area? Do you find that that's beneficial in addition to the FMLS and the IDX to public sites?
In this market, it's extremely important, but put it out about 3 days prior to, and it needs to go to your brokerage firm and use that. Don't post on social media that you have a coming soon and give specifics on it. You want to put a little teaser out there? I've got a property coming soon in Smyrna that's 4-sided brick. You know anybody who might be interested? That's about all the information you need to do. This is a teaser program of coming soon. That's what coming soon is all about.
My question was also, I get so many emails from other brokerages advertising their properties to me. I don't know who these agents are, but I get email after email after email of listings that they've got. Do you suggest doing that when they're active?
We have a publication that goes out once a week, and it goes out on Thursdays. So y'all keep an eye out, and if you're not on the list, let me know and I'll make sure that you are. And it's a newsletter, and it's called The Page. Where we got that name, but it's called The Page, and it goes out to agents. I don't send one out every time we get a new listing, but it goes out weekly, and it tells about coming soon properties properties that have just been listed, open houses that are available. It's relative information and it goes out once a week.
Thank you.
And I actually have agents that have thanked me for that information. And I know what you're saying, Allison. I mean, I get so sick of hitting delete, delete, delete.
Mhm.
We won't call any other brokerage firms names, but my goodness, there are a couple of them out there that is that all they do? No wonder they charge the agent so much in a split. If they have somebody that sits there and does all of that, I mean, we don't need that. You don't need that, in my opinion. Any other questions? Thank y'all for being here and know that I'm available. Pay me. Thanks.